Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
Welcome to The Lock Shop here today on this New Year's Eve, which is loaded with all sorts of sports. Matt Iwanyk, Jake Bolin Moss with you here on Edmonton Sports Talk.com. Tune in iHeartRadio, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts as well. Lots going on, including in bowl season right now. Michigan up on Alabama 16-0 after the first quarter. I was not expecting anything like that. So what a start there. And then we've got some NHL hockey happening today, which also, thank you, Jake, for coming on today as your Leafs are about to hit the ice in a few minutes and stuff. So you got the short end of the straw there, clearly. Missing out on your Leafs. I'm assuming you have some sort of TV around you, though, or something to get going with the Leafs Islanders.
There's no way I'm sitting here without at least an extra screen of the Leaf game. So if you catch me peeking over this way, that's what the Leaf game is. This is right here. I'm on the Leafs, okay? So, I honestly, maybe I should have checked the schedule. I love jumping on the Lock Shop, though. I have a good time on here, no matter who's on. And today it's me and you. Huss did just text me and say he was waiting on a link. So, I don't know. I think initially when we had conversations behind the scenes, Maddie, he had said he had some sort of lunch.
Yeah.
But it sounds like he might want to jump on, which I think would be totally fine, a little three-man weave if that's possible. So
he says I got the email from him. I missed I've got a lunch on the 31st. Hopefully he can jump in for me that day. Hey Trev, can you send the link to Huss? He might.
I did
join
forward
us
him
today.
the link you guys sent me.
Okay.
So he might be jumping on with us.
Oh, well, so he's right there. So we might have Huss today. It's a New Year's Eve miracle.
We'll have to get an update from him. What happened with the this lunch that we thought he might have had and didn't. I do see Penner's Pancake is in the chat. Said, "Is that Jake?" Yeah, I'm ringing in the new year. I wanted to get a fresh shave on. I know yesterday I had a bit of a scruff going on, but I figure this morning I'd wake up, shave, shower, and get nice and fresh for New Year's Eve.
Once Trev gives me the thumbs up, we'll bring Huss over here. Oh, we've got the thumbs up. Huss, we'll bring him in right now. Huss, this is an unexpected surprise because you initially said you had a lunch or something today.
You know what? That is on me. Like, we were making those plans. What was it, like a week and a half or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And that got switched around. I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, okay, great. Business as usual on the Lock Shop. And it was funny. I came in and realized, oh my God, Iwanyk's doing it. But then I realized it's the last show of 2024. And if I want to lock in my Lock Shop Host of the Year award for being the guy here throughout the year, I figured I better jump onto you. And to be honest, selfishly, I also really wanted to lock in with Jake on these college football games and see who we should be tailing, because he's been on it a lot more than I have over the last little bit. So it's all good. First of all, best of the season. Happy New Year to you, Maddie. How has your break been?
It was great. A lot of good sports action. I'm very excited about college bowl season. I was all in on the Pop-Tarts Bowl. It was the greatest thing ever that happened on Saturday.
Strawberry Pop-Tart came back from the dead.
Yes.
He is risen.
He is risen. And then we had the sacrifice of the frosted cinnamon or whatever that was. And I don't know who runs Pop-Tarts marketing, but they deserve raises all over the place because they got every detail right. They got the sprinkles on the sidelines. They had the wrapper over the field goal posts. It's just everything they did was just wonderful. Unfortunately, my Hurricanes lost that game, so I was a little disappointed. But it was great. And now it's time to get set for the playoffs to continue. The quarterfinals didn't like the first round, but we've got the playoffs continuing starting tonight. And then we've got World Juniors. It's a lot happening, and we're getting close to the NFL playoffs. So we'll have that big game with the Lions and the Vikings next weekend. So it's just a good time, Huss?
Yeah, we got a good NHL slate tonight. That Canada-USA game, I've just been paying attention over the last 2 days to the line on it. Straight up pick 'em right now, folks. -110 on either side. But Maddie, before we get Jake's thoughts on the college football playoff, you just mentioned you're a Miami guy.
Yeah.
Give us your take on Cam Ward, the quarterback. If you've seen a lot of Miami, that's a lot more than I have this year. We hear that it's him and Shadur Sanders as the top two quarterbacks. are these guys legit top of the draft players? Well, in particular, Cam Ward. We've heard that some teams might like him better, and you wouldn't have to deal with all the baggage that comes along with the Sanders family, which I think is a big bonus. But is this guy going to be a player, and how high do you think he's going to go? How big of a carrot will this be for teams at the top of the draft?
He is one of the best quarterbacks in the draft, period. But is this a great quarterback draft year? That's the other question. There will be someone that takes Cam Ward in the top 10, 100%. And is he going to be a great NFL quarterback? I'm not so fully sure about that. I was watching him actually at Washington State. I do follow the Washington State Cougars, and that's where he came from before he transferred to Miami last year. He's an exciting quarterback. He's a very good quarterback. He can make plays. He's set the record for most touchdown passes, in a career in the NCAA. The thing about Cam Ward is he always finds a way to make the mistake in the wrong moment. Like when you don't need him to make a mistake, that's when he's throwing the interception, or that's when he just can't get it done. I view Cam Ward as probably an unbelievable CFL quarterback, a guy that would have an unbelievable career here. It would light up this league. The NFL, I see him. He's going to go get drafted by a team. He's going to be like maybe Jameis Winston 2.0 type thing. He'll throw you touchdowns, but he's going to throw so many picks that he's just going to turn out to be a journeyman quarterback in this league. He's not going to be a guy that leads you to a Super Bowl. So if you are a team that needs a quarterback this year and you're going to risk a first-round pick, you're going to be looking for a quarterback 2 years, 3 years from now, because I don't think it's going to fully pan out. I hope I'm wrong with Cam Ward, because he has the ability with his legs too. And he just looks like a pretty solid quarterback, but I just think his decision-making isn't there, and that's going to hurt him in the National Football League.
Yeah, that is interesting. I'm a big Nick Wright guy, obviously, because he has been flying the flag of Mahomes Mountain ever since his time in KC, and I think he really is one of the breakout sports media stars. But he also knows how to get people talking. Jake, what do you think about this? He floated out yesterday that for your Patriots, if they have the number one pick in the draft and the team below them would prefer Drake May to whatever quarterback they're not going to take, he floated out that you have to investigate the possibility of floating May out for the number 2 pick, taking Shadur 1, Travis Hunter 2, and hiring Dion to be the new head coach of the New England Patriots.
This isn't the first time I've heard this little fan fiction we've got going around. I don't know. The thing is, like, with Shadur and Travis and Dion, I mean, they've had a lot better season than they did a season ago. Like, people were really down on Colorado going into this season. They had a great season. They had a chance to make the Big 12 championship. They didn't. And, they upload in that bowl game, and it is what it is against BYU. So it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know. I feel like you saw enough from Drake May this year that you can, you feel there's a good investment there. If you go back to another rookie quarterback, there's no guarantee he's going to come in and set the world on fire. And like you said, we don't even know if this quarterback class is going to be a good quarterback class. Like, we're talking about guys like Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders at the top of that class, but who knows what the potential is great, but who knows what those guys could turn out to be. I feel like with May's progress over the season, although it didn't, result in victories for the team, I still feel like that's a guy you hold on to. You're still sitting in first overall pick territory. You can still move your way down. If you're not too worried about getting Travis Hunter in that one spot, you can work your way down to the 3, the 4 spot and get a little bit more capital. I don't know. I don't love that plan. It feels more fan fiction-y to me, but if that's what ends up happening, we'll have quite the conversation on the lock shop. That's for sure.
Hey, it'll be it will be electric times. By the way, I'm just pulling up Coolbet right now. Have you seen what's happening in the ReliQuest Bowl?
Yeah, Huss, you were all over it yesterday. You said too many points. I was a little hesitant because the thing one thing I got to say about Michigan is, like, they haven't been able to move the ball down the field in the passing game basically all season. Their win against Ohio State was it was pretty much a miracle. Like, they were huge underdogs in that game, and they come into this game, I think it had gone up to 16.5, Huss. Alabama as favorites. And right now, Michigan's out in front 16-0 with about 6 minutes to go in the second quarter. The line's completely flipped. They're 5.5-point favorites to win now. It's one of those things. I got a text from one of the boys. I don't know if it was Shane or Pat, and they just said, like, Alabama doesn't show up for bowl games because it isn't the playoff. It's a bad excuse, but it is one of those situations where it's like they don't care that they're playing Michigan in the ReliaQuest Bowl. Like, to Alabama, you go there to win national championships. They didn't have a chance to do that this year, and it's clearly showing in their bowl game that, unless things turn here, they don't really care too much for being the champions of the ReliaQuest Bowl this season.
It hurts their claim to that they deserve to be in the playoffs, though.
Well, absolutely.
Like, you go fall to Michigan here, then everyone goes like, we saw what happened in those first 4 games. There's like a couple of those teams shouldn't have been there. You don't get a claim now anymore of Alabama saying, no, we deserve to have been there before you if you go and lose to Michigan here.
Yeah, listen, if you want to do a 16-team playoff and see 8 teams get massacred, go for it. Mm-hmm. You could make the argument that the extra 4 teams that they brought in were sort of unnecessary. Although it'll be interesting because of the teams that won conferences that haven't played yet, how they fare in these first games will be. And then the other thing that I think we just have to wonder: have you seen how many players are in the transfer portal right now?
It's ridiculous.
I haven't seen the total, but I can only imagine.
It's thousands.
Yeah,
thousands and thousands. I think there was already 2,000 at the beginning of December, and it's been happening throughout. I think last year there was, what was it? And then there was 2,700 last year, and they're already over that number right now. So I don't know. It is a wild west right now in college sports.
We had one team drop out of a bowl game because they didn't have enough players. I forgot who it was. I think was it Louisville that replaced them, and then with the Washington coming up? But there was a game where they didn't have enough and somebody else needed to replace. I was watching the Holiday Bowl a couple of days ago, and it was Washington State, and they had 32 players in the transfer portal.
Marshall dropped out of their bowl game versus Army. Looks like that's the one.
That's what it
Could
was.
lead to future penalties. Yeah,
because they just didn't have enough players. They just had so many transfers.
College football right now, right? And it's a little frustrating because, like I said to you yesterday, Huss, like, it is hard to handicap these games when you don't know who's going to be playing. The numbers from the start, when these initially open, when all the bowls get set, they've changed drastically as we get closer and closer to these games because, the top players are sitting out or they're moving on to other schools. Like, I don't know. I don't know how you, like, I don't even know if there's even a fix at this point because you've already set it up this way. You almost can't go back. But, like, someone said to me, well, the transfer portal should open up, after bowl season. It's like, yeah, but those players will just sit out knowing they plan to transfer anyways. So, what's the huge difference there? Like, the players that are sitting now or that are transferring would probably just sit regardless, even if the transfer portal didn't open.
Well, and the coaches are going to want to play. I mean, if they know a guy's got 1 foot out the door, they'd rather play a guy that's going to be with them next year or, that has a future with them as opposed to otherwise. Well, hey, listen, before we get into these games, let me get your guys' thoughts on here are the odds at Coolbet to win the national championship with the final 8 teams that are here. Texas is now the favorite at plus 325. Ohio State is plus 350. Oregon plus 450. Penn State plus 500. Georgia plus 525. Notre Dame plus 650. I mean, wild how close those top 6 teams are. I mean, with no real clear favorite. And then the 2 long shots, ASU 65-1 and Boise State 75-1. Maddie, if you were putting a nickel down on a team to win, who's getting it right now?
Well, there's only one team that's undefeated this year, and it's the Oregon Ducks. And there's value to me on that one, the fact that they're plus 450 and that there's 2 teams that are higher. Now, they've got a tough game this weekend against Ohio State, or tomorrow against Ohio State. But the thing is, they've already beat Ohio State. And, all the talk around, like, Ohio State goes and they lose to Michigan. They go into the playoffs limping. And, yeah, they have a great game against Tennessee at home. That is now, like, it's changed the narrative around Ohio State where all of a sudden they're now magically the greatest team again in college football and Ryan Day's the greatest coach and extend him and everything's great. I think we're overlooking what has happened over the last number of years or the last number of months in college football with Ohio State that, they're a fine team, but Ryan Day was almost fired if they lost to Tennessee. And so Oregon, they are still undefeated. They are a good program. They are doing some good things this season. And I can get a little bit of value on the Oregon Ducks. Now, I think the one thing that hurts, going on the Ducks or Ohio State is that then it's Texas next game. If you get through this, then you have to go play Texas. And that's where I guess maybe some of the value for Texas or why Texas might be the favorite is they should roll Arizona State. So they're one win away from getting to a national title. But I would look at Oregon. Penn State's a team that they'll beat Boise. I don't see them beating Notre Dame or Georgia to get to the national championship. They're a good team, but it just always seems that's a program to me that always just gets so close but won't get it done. So I really like Oregon Ducks there. I don't mind the Georgia Bulldogs. I know there's no back there. I know the injury there, but like most teams in the SEC, they have their backups should be starters in a lot of places.
Yeah.
So I don't mind the idea that maybe people are fading Georgia right now a little bit, and that's a team that, obviously the SEC top program, they can get going. They had a tough schedule this year. Kirby Smart, called out the commish after they won the SEC championship game. I could see them going, so plus 525 also. I really like that one too.
Jake, what about you?
Yeah, I think Maddie was kind of onto it there. I'm kind of leaning this winner of this Georgia Notre Dame game because it really sets up, we expect Penn State to win tonight. Penn State is really good at rolling teams that, aren't the top of the league. But when it comes to beating, over the past few years here, a Michigan or an Ohio State or an Oregon, that's not really the teams that they get up for and they get victories against. So I think what happens tonight is Penn State takes care of business, and then they got to play one of Georgia or Notre Dame, and it's more than likely, I think, I'd lean the side of the Georgia or the Notre Dame. So, depending on how you want to look at it, I wouldn't mind sprinkling either one of those teams. But if you go to the other one there, Huss, to make the championship game, you can get Georgia at plus 190 and Notre Dame at plus 220, both to make the championship. You put a sprinkle on both of those. One of those teams is winning tomorrow and getting on to the semifinal, where they'll likely play Penn State. If they don't play Penn State, they'll get Boise State, which, you could probably argue is even an easier matchup for them. And I think you're in a great spot to make that championship. So as much as, we're looking at to win the college football playoff, I don't mind to make the championship. And I mean, Patty's a Notre Dame guy, so got to have a little Notre Dame representation on the show here without him.
Does Notre Dame ever come up big on these big games?
Yeah, we're waiting on it, right?
They get to the final.
And Maddie said it, with Beck being out, I know the backup, like you said, the backups on the Georgia team should be starters on other teams. But, he hasn't played all season. He's played very limited snaps, right? So to really jump in here, as the SEC champs, and you got to go against Notre Dame, who's really been rolling since that tough loss to Northern Illinois, which everyone was, blown away by early in the season. They've been taking care of who they need to take care of, and this is going to be a big test for Notre Dame tomorrow night. But I'm pretty excited. I wouldn't be shocked if Notre Dame goes to the college football playoff championship this year, just by the way the schedule lays out.
So we've got one game today and 3 games tomorrow. Looks like Alabama scored a touchdown. It's 16-7 right now in that game. And fortuitous timing. Oh, wow. It's just changed again. This Boise State line has been kind of flickering back from 11 to 11.5. It looks like it's back to 11 now. I've got a little bit of a soft spot for Boise State. And again, I have been the most casual of NCAA fans, but I was down, I think this is a few weeks ago, on the way to Minneapolis, and we were at a bar in Fargo, and they had the Boise State UNLV game on. And I got just doing a little bit of a deep dive on them, their season so far. And you realize that they had one loss. Their one loss was to Oregon, 37-34. I mean, they gave Oregon one of, if not their toughest matchup on their entire schedule right now. These smaller conference schools that get in are always kind of overlooked and always expected to get the crap beat out of them. I mean, they've got this Ashton Ginty, whatever his name is, who's going to be a first-round pick, who was a Heisman Trophy finalist. I kind of love Boise State to cover the number today and to be close in. I'm considering, Jake, as I stare at my $15 free bet in my account from the weekend with the NFL bonus promo, I'm considering actually putting it on the money line, not just on the spread. But I'm definitely going Boise State plus 11 or 11.5 if it comes back to that for tonight. And this is similar. I mean, it's a huge number with the team that has scored a ton of points and has been ultra competitive and went toe-to-toe with the number one team all year long. So I believe in blue, Boise State for tonight. Where are you at? Where are you guys at on this one?
Jake, I'll let you start.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's going to be interesting watching on that Boise State blue field that they got down there. I'll have to see. I don't know. I do like.
No, these are games. They're not home.
Oh, these aren't home anymore.
No. So today's game, I can't remember which one that is, but now they go to the site. So like tomorrow's the Rose Bowl and there's Sugar Bowl and all that. So
I thought that was next time around. Okay, no worries. Okay, yeah. I mean, listen, I do lean slightly on Penn State only because it like the comments you made, Huss, it is one of those smaller schools. Maddie talked a bit about Penn State. Like, they tend to win these games. You look at what happened with SMU last week. They took care of them, no problem. And not that SMU's in a small conference. Not that any of these are really small conferences. They're just not the Big Ten or the SEC. So, yeah, I do lean Penn State, but Boise State has been a great story. And I wouldn't be surprised if they, find themselves in this game. Penn State's been known to kind of choke games that they should probably win or that they're in. We spoke about Genty. He's got some props up. Evdog just messaged me and said that the props are online. 129.5 rushing yards is his line total right now. He's minus 250 to score a touchdown. That might be like one of the lower odds we've seen. This guy, all he does is score touchdowns and run for a zillion yards. And he might have got. Some people believe he got screwed on the Heisman. It is what it is. It's still jumping back and forth here, Huss, as we're talking about from 11 out to 11.5. I do lean Penn State, but I don't hate your reasoning behind taking Boise. And if you're going to use your $15 free bet, it's up to plus 350 now on the money line. You just got a little bit extra juice there as we're talking.
Well, and this is the thing is, if you think about it, Matt, a running back that their total is close to 130 yards and they are seemingly automatic for a touchdown, and yet their team's an 11-point dog.
Yeah. Well, because there's not, if he gets contained, what else has the team got type thing, and then this is a game I personally want to avoid it as much as possible just because I don't see Boise winning this. I do think Penn State is just a solid team, and I think that they're going to find a way to get this game done. It's going to be the next game that they'll find a way to drop it. But I don't know if they're going to roll like they did last week or whenever the first round was, or what type of fight Boise has in them. Like, this is one, the money line is absolutely not worth it on Penn State at minus 435, but the line is so big. Like, I could see Penn State rolling and winning by 17, 20 points in this one. And, them and Arizona State just getting absolutely decimated because, and the other thing that hurts, I think, Boise State in this as well is Penn State has recently played. Boise State is coming in a little bit cold. Whereas that's the one thing about these playoffs I'm very intrigued by with the bye weeks is that the other teams had to be sitting while the other teams, they're coming in feeling good, not having been off for over a month or whatever it has been. So you got Penn State coming in, feeling good about themselves. They took care of business going up against Boise State, who, if they contain the running back, Genty, can Boise go and defeat Penn State here? It's one I personally would kind of just stay away from because I don't believe Boise's going to win this. But if I'm with Jake, I like your reasoning of Boise. It's now back to plus 11. So it just keeps moving on that one little spot there.
Yeah,
But
I'm going to go in on the spread on this one, and I'll keep that aside, and then we will get to tomorrow's game. So here's the slate for New Year's Day. Texas, Arizona State. Oh, by the way, that Penn State Boise State game is in Glendale at State Farm Stadium. That I think is going to be great for Boise. And I can tell you just from being in Vegas, the previous time that Boise State was in at UNLV, it was insane how much gaudy blue and orange was up and down the strip, and especially downtown in Fremont. It was an absolute takeover. And you think about Boise being quite west, I would have a feeling that they will have a ton of fans at this game. How much that matters, that can be up to you. But I think they'll be very well supported. And Big Ten teams like Penn State that are probably expecting to get to the next round or maybe the championship game, people can't travel every single weekend. So I wouldn't be surprised if there at least is a significant sort of home crowd advantage for Boise in this one.
This is also the home of Boise's greatest win. This was where they beat Oklahoma in that big Fiesta Bowl from a number of years ago. Yeah, Jared Zabransky is the quarterback, the back and forth, the Statue of Liberty play, all that. It was at this stadium. So maybe there's a little history repeating itself for Boise State. Go get this big win against Penn State.
Magic for tonight. So tomorrow we get going with Texas and Arizona State. Texas is a 12.5-point favorite. This Oregon-Ohio State matchup, great Big Ten rivalry. The Ohio State is the 2-point favorite, which for me is, I don't know, maybe someone can explain this to me. I mean, they're the team that lost to Michigan. Oregon ran the table. I don't get that. But anyways, Oregon's a 2-point dog. And then it's basically a pick 'em right now. Georgia, a 1-point favorite over Notre Dame. Jake, why don't you run down who are your favorite picks? And if you're on each side, where are you at?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously the most interesting games are Ohio State, Oregon, and Notre Dame, Georgia. I do look at the Texas game similar to that Penn State, Boise State, where, Arizona State's been a great story all season. They've been on a great run here. I think this is a couple weights above their usual weight class. I think Texas can take care of business here against Arizona State and move on to that next round. But I am intrigued by this Ohio State-Oregon game. Like you mentioned, Oregon, they won a close one earlier this season. I believe it was in Oregon, that game, against Ohio State. They're the only undefeated team. Maddie mentioned it already. Hard to fade a team as an underdog when, we're not in like a regular season scenario anymore where this game doesn't matter. This game matters the most out of any of the games. So I do naturally lean to the dog there, especially, a team that hasn't lost yet this season. I'm kind of leaning on until Oregon loses, how are you supposed to fade them? I already mentioned Notre Dame, Georgia earlier when we were talking about who's going to win the championship. Another one where I do slightly lean the dog only because, you look at Georgia, they're onto their backup quarterback, not a lot of snaps this season. And Maddie mentioned a great point. Notre Dame did play last week. They're in playing shape right now. Georgia did have the bye from winning the SEC championship. So they've been sitting a little while. Yes, a lot of prep time, but to get back up to game speed. I do wonder, I don't know if this is going to be a good play, but I might play a couple first half plays or some first quarter plays. Just the teams who are kind of up to game speed, have played more recently. You look at a Texas, a Penn State, you probably get a couple good first half numbers on those guys if you don't want to lay the big numbers in the 11 or the 12.5. Might be a little different with these Ohio State, Oregon, Notre Dame, Georgia. But, yeah, it's kind of where I lean. The two big favorites and then the two slight dogs is kind of where I'm at right now. I don't know if that's just a natural, I don't want to have all the favorites, don't want to have all the dogs, or if that's just the way I'm seeing it.
So basically you're on Notre Dame, Oregon, and Texas.
Right. Yeah, that's how I'd play it, I think.
Yeah, I was thinking Texas. I'm definitely going Oregon, and it's such a pickup. I mean, I was gonna fade Notre Dame just because they always seem to. I don't know. My very naive memory is that they come up small. Maybe they're just an extra hype team. Where are you at with these?
Yeah, like Texas, Arizona State. It's easy one for me. Like Arizona State, they wouldn't be in the playoffs if they didn't win the Big 12. Like it's just that simple. Right. They weren't even really in the conversation for this, and I don't believe much of the Big 12 for this. And Texas, they are the team that actually played recently, if we're going to add that into that. So what Texas did to Clemson, who also were a team that weren't going to be in the playoffs if they didn't win the ACC, I think we're going to see the same come this week. So I think Texas roll. I wouldn't even be afraid of the 12.5 line on that one. My Coolbet hotline of the day on the morning show today was Oregon plus 105, right on the money line, straight up. Like I think people are just giving maybe a little more recency bias to Ohio State. Yes, they have played more recently, but the Ducks, they did beat Ohio State this year, very close game by a point. But then in the Big Ten championship game, which sounds so weird to say that it's Oregon, but in the Big Ten championship game, they took down Penn State, and Penn State's a very good team. They're in this. They also beat Boise State. So of the teams that are remaining, there are 8 teams remaining. Oregon has already beaten 3 of those teams this season. Like they are just a good team. They're a good program this year. This game's taking place at the Rose Bowl out in Pasadena. So if you're looking for traveling fans, very easy to go from Oregon to get to LA to get to a Rose Bowl. I've been to a Rose Bowl game, actually. It was Oregon versus Wisconsin. Ducks fans traveled to that one, so they'll be there. So I look at that and go, like, I'm with you. As soon as I looked at it, I think maybe it's the recency bias part. That's maybe why we're seeing the Ducks as the underdog here in this one. I'm all over the Ducks in that one. And then, of course, they have to make it a pick'em basically with Notre Dame and Georgia because it is a pick'em. Like everything about it, just it's hard. Everything you guys said is 100% right. Like the Notre Dame is a team that when you finally think, okay, this is their moment, they stub their toe. And Georgia,
what would the spread be if Beck was in?
I think Georgia's favored by probably 3.5, maybe 2.5.
That's exactly the number I was thinking, 3.5.
Like so for me, I'm going. If I have to make a decision between Notre Dame and Georgia, I'm going to go Georgia because as much as I don't want to do this, be that like SEC is a better conference, and Notre Dame's not in a conference, but the SEC is a great conference, and Georgia was the king of it this year in the end. So I would go just lean on taking Georgia, probably the money line on that one. Because what's the point of giving up that 1 point there?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, those other 2 games, I mean, I think pick who you want to win. If you want to take Oregon plus 2.5, I was just trying to figure out a parlay. I was going to take all 3, but again, it's such a coin flip in that other game. And this is a nice little transition to this evening's activities. If you're looking for a different pick'em, you can go to the Canada-USA game. And this might be, it's a good thing I have this thing here and no one can take it away, this Canadian passport, because people might want, I think the States are a crazy value with this game tonight. Like, I mean, this is a team that can score. I mean, I guess if Carter George can just simply put up a wall and not let anything in, Canada can win. But, man, I've actually watched more of this tournament than I normally do up until this point just because of what happened with Latvia, and you had to kind of watch the Germany to see what's up. I mean, I think a lot of the best players that Canada has aren't on the team. I think specifically offensively, I mean, I saw an anonymous comment from an NHL executive about Zane Parik not being on the team. I mean, how not to have Canada's clear best offensive defenseman on the squad. I think he referred to it as gross malpractice. They just don't seem to have the pop. And then that young kid that's up for the draft that got,
Schaefer
WWE'd himself into the turnbuckle and knocked himself out. I mean, to me, I think that, put it this way, if we weren't in Canada, say we were in Sweden and Coolbet, the Coolbet guys are looking at this tournament and handicapping this one, and I know there is the home crowd, which means something. But to be honest, sometimes that brings up the road team better in this rivalry and puts way more pressure on the home team. Anyways, I'm saying this quietly. I hopefully I won't have to do this again during the medal round and Canada can find a way. But this was minus 110. USA right now, just a moment ago when I popped them in, minus 104. And to me, they should have been the favorite in the tournament, and they should be the favorite tonight. It should be a great game. Hopefully it is, and I'd be more than happy to be wrong if Canada can pull this off. But I think USA takes this one tonight.
Hurts me to hear it, Huss. Hurts me to hear it. I'm the one thing I'll say on it is I think I'm still leaning where I was yesterday with the under. I think it's going to be a lot tighter game. Both these teams need a victory. I had a tweet up. I don't think I have it on me active right now, but there was a ton of scenarios based on what happens in tonight's game, what happens in the Latvia-Finland game. Like a lot going on with how to win this group, and just winning tonight is the most important thing for both these teams. So I think it's going to be a little bit tighter than we usually see with Canada USA. I know sometimes we'll get some good fireworks. We saw what Carter George has been able to do. I know you said USA can score, House. I have no doubt there, but I think I'm going to lean into the under. Under 6.5 is minus 122. I think I'd take the juice, and that's probably how I'd play it. But realistically, I'm going to get to game time, and I'm going to bet Canada because I have a hard time not betting with my heart. So that's an absolute heart play. Don't take my advice on a handicapping matter for the fact. And Huss is probably right. There probably is better value in the U.S. as it sits right now. It's just hard for me to sit there with a USA ticket in my pocket.
Here's the scene. Here's the scenario for tonight. And again, Group B is the Swedes and the Czechs, who have both been awesome or both undefeated. They're playing today. So the winner of Canada-USA wins Group A and will be first.
Right.
If that game goes to overtime, Canada will finish no lower than second. If the Latvia-Finland game goes to OT, Canada will finish no lower than second. But if Canada loses in regulation and Latvia or Finland win in regulation, Canada actually finishes third and will play the loser of the Czechs and the Swedes. You absolutely want to be in the top two right now. And considering Canada lost last year in the quarterfinal and didn't even make it to the semis, it would be a huge disappointment. The stakes are very high to at least get this one to overtime and avoid one of those two teams in the first round, Maddie. That's sort of the way things shake up. And by the way, if Finland wins in regulation, which I think is likely, and the USA loses in any fashion, the States finish third and then have to play either the Swiss or the Swedes. So there really is a lot on the line. And you know what? This is great for the World Junior Tournament. I mean, we're usually talking about it's one or the other. I can't remember the last time that there was permutations that could have both Canada and the USA not being in the top two.
USA just went to plus 100 on the money line. Canada minus 122. The world
is fading me as I speak this.
Yeah, the lock shoppers are all jumping in there to go against us there. Look, I don't have any real knowledge on this one. It's hard to bet against Canada on home ice in a big game. That's the thing that I'll always have a tough time doing because that crowd, I think, will get these boys going. And in the end, like we had Craig Button on the morning show today, and they both teams still haven't found their games yet. The U.S. is as good as they, we've talked about them coming into this tournament. They still haven't exactly been playing at their best either.
OT to the Finns.
So it's one of those where I think the jump that the players will get from the crowd in Ottawa is going to help propel them. I agree with Jake that this is going to be a closer, like a tighter game. And I don't think we're going to see massive scoring in that sense. I think Canada, and it's also the team that Canada has built, is to go and if they've been try to build a team to go take on the Americans and hopefully win a nice tight defensive game. I'm going to stick with Canada on this one because I'm happy with my passport. I'm not ready to be a 51st state.
Yes.
Now, Us, if we do want to get a little dicey with it, we're not going to do this in a parlay, but if you do like this one to go to overtime, considering there are some factors that weigh in, plus 330 right now for the draw. So a decent number there if you're thinking this could go to overtime. I think, in a perfect scenario, it's like a 2-2 game into overtime. We cash the under at 6.5 and we get that plus 330 draw.
Yeah.
So if you do want to get a little bit more juice out of the game, overtime is not a bad play. And how great would an overtime game be between Canada and the U.S. on New Year's Eve at the World Juniors? Like, I know it's not something necessarily as Canadians that we want, but for just the sport overall, the World Juniors, like, love
you know what?
Yeah,
you got me in, and this is the perfect scenario, Jake. The regulation draw plus 330 if that comes in, Canada's guaranteed of top 2. So even if the USA wins, and I win that other just straight up money line bet, Canada's sort of taking care of business. And if Canada wins in OT, the plus 330 dwarfs the minus 104 or even money or whatever the number is right now. So
Right.
I love it. That's the way that will all work out tonight. Czechia, by the way, that game's going to go at 4 our time. Czechia, Sweden. The Swedes are minus 213 and minus 1.5 is plus 132. And the Finns, it's so funny. Before they weren't even putting money line numbers down for the Latvia games because, well, I mean, Canada was a minus 6.5 goal favorite in that game.
Yeah.
I've never seen a number like this before. If you want Latvia against Finland, plus 1750. You want Finland to beat Latvia on the money line, minus 22,727. So
I've never seen that.
I've never seen anything like that. If you wanted to win $10, excuse me, what if?
If you wanted to win $10, you'd have to bet $2,272.70.
Good luck on that. I would not recommend playing the Finland money line on this game, although they might win. They're 3.5 goal favorites for what that's worth going forward. We do have a big slate of NHL action tonight. I'm noticing
one
that.
Last thing on the juniors.
Yeah.
Sorry. I think that start time for USA Canada is wrong. I believe it's 7:30 here, 6:30 your time, 5:30 in Edmonton. I think it's showing 8 o'clock, 8:76 in Coolbet. I'm just going to have them double check.
It's showing 6 o'clock. I'm seeing 6 o'clock.
Right, I believe it should be 5:30, right?
Well, is the game 5:30 or is the broadcast start 5:30?
I don't know. I saw not to shout out another app. I saw on the score today it was 7:30 Eastern, so it would be 5:30 your time. But yeah, I'm just gonna have our guys double check it. Worst case, it'll be right by the time the game.
So on the IHF website, it is saying 20. So that's 8 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock here. 6 o'clock where I am, so that'd be 7 where Huss is and 8 where you are.
Yeah.
So I think that 5:30 is just the broadcast start, so that they'll do a 30-minute pregame.
Oh yeah,
Sounds good.
TSN will squeeze everything they can out of this one. There's no doubt about that. Tis the season. Let's see, what do we have here for the NHL tonight? Bruins and Caps are on the ice right now. Your Leafs are up 1-0.
Oh,
Matthews
celebrate there.
Got put on the IR, by the way. Matthews got put on the IR.
Celebrate when David Kampf scores. Yeah, that's retroactive to the 20th. So, I think he could come back at any time. It was just to get a guy out. Rafai came up from the minors. It was just, I think it's just to get an extra guy on the roster, to be honest. But I don't know. He's been practicing. It's weird situation with Matthews right now. I don't know what's going on, if I'm being completely honest with you guys.
I mean, they're very coy about this whole thing. All right. Jake, fire up the DFO or one of you guys and get some starting goalies here while I run through these lines. Vegas is at home to the Habs. Vegas minus 244. Habs plus 202. Of course, we've got the Winter Classic. St. Louis and Chicago. What a matchup for this premier focus for the NHL. Two teams that will not be in the playoffs and two teams that have already fired their coach this year. At least they're playing at Wrigley Field. Blackhawks are plus 116. The Blues minus 137. Devils and Ducks in Anaheim. Devils are a big favorite, minus 278. Ducks plus 230. The Jets are in Colorado to take on the Avalanche. Jets, great win last night, 3-0. Connor Hellebuck, another shutout. Helly for Hart. But this is going to be a very tough game. Traveling after last night, Eric Comrie in. I normally like to throw in, and I can just see the odds changing throughout. It was like plus 165, 170. It just changed to plus 175 while I'm watching it right now. So it's tough to back the Jets, even with the way they've been playing lately, considering the situation they're in tonight. Blue Jackets plus 202 at home to the Canes, who are minus 244. The suddenly hot again Buffalo Sabres looking to make it 4 in a row. They're in Dallas, tough spot for them, plus 182 for Buffalo, minus 217 for the Stars. Pittsburgh and Detroit. That's a big game in the East. Detroit's minus 122, just got their first win under Todd McClellan. Pittsburgh's plus 104. The Preds, who played here in the Peg last night and were shut out, they're in Minnesota. Wild have been struggling lately. They're without some top players. Nashville's plus 103 and the Wild are minus 122. Flyers minus 175 in San Jose against the Sharks, who are plus 148 as a home dog. Vancouver, Calgary, that'll be a fun game out west. Calgary minus 122. Vancouver without Paterson, without Quinn Hughes, they're plus 103. And the final game of 2024 is the Edmonton Oilers at home to Utah HC. Oilers minus 200, Utah plus 170. If you guys can, let's do a quick rundown of these goalies, and maybe we can put together one final partner parlay for the year.
Yeah, I've got them here. We're unconfirmed in Montreal, Vegas. They got Montembeault and Hill listed. In the Winter Classic, Binnington's unconfirmed. Mrazek is confirmed for the Blackhawks. Hurricanes, Blue Jackets, we got Kochetkov going for Carolina, likely. And for the Blue Jackets, it's Merzlikins, confirmed. For Preds Wild, Eustace and Noonan is unconfirmed right now. Philip Gustafson is confirmed for the Wild. Devils, Ducks, both goalies unconfirmed. Markstrom and Gibson. Flyers, Sharks, both goalies unconfirmed. Urson and Gorgiev. Jets, Avalanche, Blackwood is confirmed. I believe Comrie will likely go, Huss. I mean, I know Helly went last night with the shutout.
No, I'm surprised it doesn't say confirmed.
If he's playing too much hockey, so
see. No, Arneal said he's not doing back-to-backs for Hellebuck, so it is going to be Eric Comrie tonight.
Okay, so it'll be Comrie. It's unconfirmed, but I think we can confirm that. You can tag us if you're confirming Eric Comrie.
Blame me. Tonight. Eric Comrie's in.
Thanks for the lock shop. Sabres Stars. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is likely for the Sabres. Casey DeSmith will go for the Stars. Penguins Red Wings. We got Alex Nedeljkovic for the Pens. And Alex Lyon, Battle of the Alexes, confirmed for the Red Wings. Utah, Edmonton, Jackson Stober unconfirmed for Utah. Stuart Skinner is likely for the Oilers. And then Canucks, Flames, Thatcher Demko unconfirmed. Dustin Wolf confirmed for the Flames. I will say, before we get into a parlay here, I did throw up a few combos. I know you're not too sure on the Jets, Huss, and that's totally fine. But we do have a Go Canada. Canada Juniors to win. Jets to win, Oilers to win, plus 763 in the combo cards, boosted from plus 663. So you want a little juice on some of your favorite teams, that's available right now in the combo cards. We also have a little bit of a chalky play. The Blues on the Winter Classic, they're the favorite. Penn State on the money line, they're a pretty big favorite. And then I took Oklahoma City. They got some Canadian representation. The Thunder tonight. So that's boosted from plus 181 to plus 208. We've got Canada's Next Gen. Connor Bedard for a point, Gavin McKenna for a goal, Macklin Celebrini for an assist. That's plus 806, boosted from plus 700. And then we do have a Stars and Snipes one. This is just American-born goal scorers, Ryan Leonard, Jack Hughes, and Kyle Connor, all the way up to plus 1285 if you want to get a bit of a juice on a few goal scorers tonight for the Americans.
Ooh. Maddie, no reason not to start off our partner parlay with the Oilers tonight, right?
After that weekend, sluggish weekends, only take a 1 of 4 points, losing to the Anaheim Ducks. I'd expect the Oilers are pissed off. They're back at home. They're taking on the Utah hockey team that's lost 4. Jeff Skinner will be back in the lineup. He's after a healthy scratch. He's back in. There will be a little bit of lineup changes, but after that type of performance after a break, I think the Oilers are going to want to finish off 2024 strong. They're 8-3-1, I believe, in the month of December right now. I think they'll want to finish off just with that extra win. So you absolutely have to. I would believe put the Oilers in there.
What do you guys think about Calgary at home to Vancouver with the current state of the Canucks? Lankinen's in net tonight. It won't be Demko. And we've got no Paterson. And I mean, the loss of Quinn Hughes on the blue line is just absolutely massive. you got to earn your wins against Calgary. I'll say that. And I guess it's the JT Miller show right now. He's got to get it done. I don't know. I would be in on Calgary if you guys like.
What about the over? 5.5.
Yeah.
Do we worry about the firepower of what the Canucks are rolling out right now? I guess would be the question, right? Like, Quinn Hughes being the guy. Oh yeah, Lankinen did get confirmed here, literally as I was speaking. Quinn Hughes, being that guy on PP1 there. They do take a bit of a fall off in terms of that offensive production, from the back end. Who else did you say was out, Huss? Paterson?
Yeah, Paterson and Hughes are both out.
Yeah, like that's the only thing I would be concerned with the over, but
I think the number's basically the same. Calgary's minus 130, and the over is minus
pretty
122.
Substantially. It was close to a pick 'em when this morning when I was kind of going through it. So obviously some money coming in on Calgary, shifting that line in their favor here. I wouldn't mind taking the Flames on the money line. I don't know. I know it's probably tough for Oilers fans to consider backing the Flames, but hey, guys.
But it's the other side is it's the Canucks, and I think people are happy when the Canucks lose here.
Right, that's true.
True. Well, the other one I'll throw it is the Wild against Nashville. Nashville, of course, played here last night. They didn't score a goal. Eriksson Ek is back. There's no Kaprizov, but Philip Gustafsson, who has been the backbone of Minnesota this year, is back. He's starting. You got Annunen in, not Saros. I mean, I don't think you could have a more appropriate way to end 2024 for the Nashville Predators than lose back-to-back to two division rivals that have lapped them in the standings so far. So, I mean, I don't mind then. Do you guys have any thoughts on like this Pittsburgh-Detroit game? I'm just looking for some games that aren't the big numbers. And, of course, the Winter Classic, too, although that is a bit of an earlier start. We'd have to get that in right away.
Yeah, I think we stick to these kind of 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock,
later games.
The later games here. I don't mind the Wild. I think just like you said, it's the complete narrative game. After winning the offseason, the Predators have been so poor, and what a better way to cap off this 2024 season than another loss on their record there. So I don't mind.
Here we could do this if we want to get a total. And the one total I don't mind at all is this Winnipeg Colorado total. I mean, you take Hellebuck out of the equation and throw Eric Comrie in. The Jets can score. I mean, that's not they're just absolutely, this top line of Velarde and the Jet power play alone is probably good for 1 or 2 a game right now. So I don't have a lot of confidence they can actually pull out the win. The over 6.5, I think is going to be a play I'll be doing individually, but we can do that. Maddie, what do you think? Over 6.5 in the game, in the Jets abs, Minnesota money line, Calgary money line. 2 of those 3 to go with the Oilers.
Well, since I'm in Edmonton, I think the over 6.5 Jets and the Wild minus 123 is the better one. You add the Oilers in there, and it's plus 402.
Yeah, plus 402 before a boost. Why don't we roll with that, Jake?
So Oilers Wild in the over 6.5 and Jets abs?
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all.
One more dub for the lock shop in 2024 as a team.
That'll be in the combos here shortly. I know I have dogs on the clock right now, so it'll be quick to get that up. I am going to get a Genty. It won't be a combo, I think, but it'll probably be an exclusive. It'll be like Genty, 125 yards, touchdown, and Boise to cover. It'll be somewhere around like 2-1, I think. So we'll give him a chance to get a little action tonight, Penn State, Boise.
I will be in on that as well. Gentlemen, and to all of the lock shoppers, Happy New Year. Thanks so much. Yes. Some great stuff. Look at Jimbo. What a sweet fellow Jimbo is. Hustler's New Year's resolution: continue to be a badass and a great host. Thank you very much. Swindy the Welder. Nick Wright is the biggest clown in the NFL media. Probably a Bills fan, maybe Ravens. I'm not sure.
I think he's 49ers.
And yet, the Niners. And then Spency 5 cents. He has just convinced me. Let's go Boise State. I'm in on that as well. And I see there's Scott Westman. Happy New Year's to you all. Scott, I will see you in the WST chat coming up right away. We're going to talk a little World Juniors. Ken Weave's going to join us from Colorado. And our best of 2024. Some of our biggest shows, biggest events, top things in Winnipeg. We're going to hit all of it. So it should be a very fun night. But, man, what a year it has been. Matt, particularly to you guys at EST, and I mean, being a pseudo part of the ES team with the Lock Shop. Congratulations on everything you've done, all the work you've done. And Jake, to you, Pat, and the gang at Coolbet, thanks so much for the support, all the good times, laughs, and winners. And here's to a great 2025.
Yes, it's
we'll
you and
New
Remus.
Year.
Happy New Year to everyone. And let's end it off right and start off the new year tomorrow even better.
You got it, fellas. Good luck, everyone. We'll see you Thursday in 2025. No show tomorrow, New Year's Day. Good luck with those college football bets. And we'll be back on Thursday. Maddie, what's coming up next?
2 guys in goalie. Myself, Gager, Cass. We'll get you set for Oilers as well as World Juniors. That's all coming up here on EST. Have a good one, boys.
Happy New Year, gang.
See ya, boys.